Hi besties, I'm starting work on a new project today and we're in my dining room slash kitchen area because it is way too cold for me to work in the sunroom right now because that's where my studio is in our sunroom. The room is almost entirely made up of windows, so I gotta work in here. So it's a little bit different than what you're used to, but it's okay. It's a little bit different than what I'm used to, but it's okay. Okay, so this is what we're working on. I'm making a tablecloth for my frogs, but it's going to look like, what's this called? A pond. It's gonna look like a frog pond. I'll show you up close. So this is what we're going to be making. This is my preliminary drawing. So it's gonna be similar to this piece. Like this is very similar in the aspect that it's like an overhead shot of everything, but I think I want to incorporate some more 3D elements. So, you know, like this is pretty flat. This all looks pretty flat, but I think the mushrooms, the cattails, the flowers, like that's actually all going to be very 3D and like sit up off of it. I used craft paper and I've already cut out the water, so I'm glad to have that done. I'm probably gonna have to keep doing this where I'm using the craft paper as like I'm having to draft my patterns onto the craft paper just because things are so large, but it's working pretty well. I did this with this like this big newsprint paper. There's my Carol. I had done this before, something similar before, but I used this large pad of newsprint paper because it's pretty cheap, but I was able to find this big roll of craft paper and I used that for this piece and it worked really well. So I think I'm gonna have to do that with most of the things, most of the elements of this piece. And you know, I looked through all of my fabric that I have for this and none of it is big enough to even cover the top of the table, like this full length of 6 foot by 2 feet. So I am gonna have to like patchwork it on, but I think it'll be fine. But because of that, I need to look through my fabric stash, and I think I have just some like really basic linen, like a pure linen that I can use as like the base to then put all of the pieces on. And I'm pretty sure I have a big roll of that, at least for the top portion. I'm gonna have to like cut out a 6 foot by 2 foot piece. I think that's what I'm gonna have to do. And then patchwork all these different patches, and I can make it look like moss, like little balls of moss and little patches of grass. And I think it'll look really good, but I will need that base fabric, and hopefully I have enough of that linen. I remember there being a lot of it, but I can't, you know, sometimes I forget when I use things because most of the things I get are recycled or old projects. That's what recycled is. What am I trying to say? Vintage. So, gotta go find that now. Okay, besties, it is now 3:30 p.m. and I'm very tired. I had to run some errands in between the last video and this one, so I've done quite a bit of work. Let me show you. I have the basic shape for the lily pads already done because I was displaying my frogs at shows just on this blue tablecloth with these. So I already have most of the lily pads cut out and ready. You know, I'll put them around like this, and I'll probably make some smaller ones too and layer. Like this is like perfect spot for one. These can kind of like overlap or something. And I know I have another one of these somewhere too that I can't find right now, but so once I get the background completely zigzag down, then I can, you know, sew on a bunch of details with my machine, kind of like what I did in this piece. You see the stitch work of that wood grain? That's all done with my machine. And this piece, I just glued everything down. This piece, I'm gonna sew everything down. So that's a little bit different there. But I think I'm gonna use my machine a lot more than I did last year, just because It's gonna help me save some time, but there's still gonna be a lot of hand sewn elements on this piece. And with that, I'm done for today. Tune in next time. I'll have more energy the next time you see me. Today was pretty exhausting in a good way. I just was really busy and had a lot of stuff I had to do, but I will be sewing this down tomorrow. Oh my God, I wasn't recording that whole time. Okay, hi besties. Stay tuned. It's currently 8:50 p.m. There's a sneaky girl back there behind me. I unfortunately can't film the process of me actually sewing because my table is made out of thin plastic and metal legs, and it shakes like this whenever I'm sewing. So I'm not gonna do that to you, and I'll tune back in and let you know once I have everything tacked out. Okay. It is now 9:27. And look at that. All tacked down. I did a zigzag stitch. And you can see there's a couple spots where the fabric underneath like folded in on itself, unfortunately. So I will be fixing that. However that transpires, we'll see. I'm happy with this side. It turned out very smooth, but I did end up pulling, like I had to pull this taut. You can kind of tell in a couple spots, like here and here. And I think that's what helped. So I might have to rip the stitches here and pull this a little tighter. But if anything, you know, I can cover up some of this with some, I'm gonna go in and do all of the like water details by hand, and that might help negate some of the issue I'm having. So we'll see, but I'm done for tonight. I'm tired. I'm not usually up this late working, but my child has to be picked up from work at 10:30 today. So I was like, well, I'm not doing anything but waiting on them. So I was like, well, let's just get this tacked down so I can, you know, over this next week, get some progress made on this, and this part already be done. So, okay, bye.